So good afternoon, everybody. We have Andrew Welsh on the videocast today, and Andrew's with Qlarant. Andrew, hello, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Jeff? It's nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to see you. Last time I saw you was in Detroit at the Greektown Casino, I think.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have any time to play games there. We were in a training class, but we had a good time with that and a good time seeing what Detroit has to offer, too. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Qlarant, and then we'll start talking about what you're doing there with Agile and with the AgileCxO toolset.
Sure. So as Jeff said, my name is Andrew Welsh. I've been with Qlarant for about 4.5 years. I started out here as a business analyst, and in the creation of the project management office here, become a project manager. I've been doing that for a couple of years, implementing Agile and some development teams, and now working with AgileCxO.
And tell us a little bit about the product work Qlarant's doing. You guys are doing some fantastic stuff in the healthcare industry, right?
Sure. So we've got all kind of things that we've been doing as far as quality. We do predictive data analysis. We've got some models for that. We have some tools that we use to review medical claims and basically ensure quality across Medicaid and Medicare, things of that nature.
And you were a very early adopter with Agile. I remember several years ago, you guys were really pushing this and really doing some great things with it. What caused you to start looking at that as a company?
Sure. So in our instance, we had a very small team. So when I was first hired here, we didn't even have a PMO. It was just myself and one other business analyst. So in order for us to really tackle a lot of sort of a backlog of things that needed to be done, we had started to do what a lot of companies do as an iterative approach, as opposed to a full-blown Agile approach. So as we started to do that and started to see some of the benefits of a lighter iterative approach, we started to really invest in the idea of how can we take this approach and make it better, and began to implement Agile in a heavier way.
Excellent. You and I met doing some other process analysis work last year. And you were doing some work with CMMI. How does that play into the Agile world? You don't always see those two things together.
Sure. So in our adventure with CMMI and sort of our early adoption of Agile for our development teams, we had a really great opportunity to start incorporating the Agile principles that we have picked up along the way into our newly developed CMMI processes with the help of your team.
And did you see any conflict there, or did you see that those things worked well together?
Not so much conflict as just sort of figuring out ways to marry the two together in the best way that works for the company, right? Because that's kind of the idea, is that you use these things to make things better.
Yeah.
So if you can take one thing that is seemingly strenuous and like an arduous change and take something that makes everything supposedly better, then you can marry the two together in a brilliant way.
Right. So did you find that by applying some of the best practices from one model, you were able to improve on the other one? Like, for instance, using CMMI to improve Agile performance, or maybe vice versa even?
I think we saw more of an improvement. It was almost a trade-off there, where we had benefits from both sides, where we had Agile, which helped us keep our CMMI process construction lean and more to the point, and we had CMMI to sort of give us a little more structure around our Agile processes that we had in place already.
Right, that's interesting you say that, because we often hear people say that Agile doesn't have a lot of process, and Agile is kind of people figuring out what works best for them and doing that. But then you go to implement Agile at any kind of scale, and you find that it requires quite a bit of process and quite a bit of discipline. Did you have that experience?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, we had the same kind of difficulties that everybody has with the adoption. People just used to doing it one way, and then we've got a new way, and trying to convince people that this is better, even though it is different, and really try to show them the light by doing more so than telling.
What do you think the biggest challenge has been for you on the Agile side? I know that you've got multiple Scrum teams, and even your CEO seems like he's really interested in Agile. What have been some of the biggest challenges to making it work for you?
Sure. So our company has been around for decades, and the idea of Agile here is still fairly new in its infancy outside of a project team or the development staff. That's really where the implementation began, and I think that that's common in most companies where you have a place where Agile really fits and it makes a direct impact in one small place, but it's only really supported in those teams. So I think the biggest difficulty for our adoption here is trying to do a bottom-up approach to spreading Agile throughout the company, which can be difficult in areas of the company where knowing what Agile is and what the benefits are and how it all works together is something that's not necessarily, you know, required as far as understanding. So trying to get them to get on board with something that they don't need to know about as far as the scope of their work and everything like that can be very difficult.
Yeah, and tell us about senior management and just management in general. How's their adoption of Agile going, and what kind of challenges are you facing there?
Sure. So recently we had a briefing with our executive team to sort of discuss, really kicking off this implementation for Agile at the leadership level. And they were all very receptive to it. We got really great feedback about it. I think that everybody walked away with a much better understanding of what Agile is, as well as what we're trying to accomplish here. So I think that we have a lot more support than we did before. And, as we move forward with this effort, I think that it'll really build upon that basis now that we've got set in the executive level.
Yeah, it seems like you can really supercharge this thing if you get them on board, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a couple of months ago, Andrew, Qlarant, and led by you and some others, became an AgileCxO partner. Tell us about your thinking behind that.
Sure. So AgileCxO, like I said, just previously, a lot of times companies will instill agility in project team levels, development teams, just IT and PMO. But in a lot of ways, that's where companies start just to kind of get the immediate effect. So you can put something in this small project team. They may see immediate benefits in the project team level, but as you move up, you kind of find that agility stops there. So um, Agile really thrives in companies where agility is supported from the top down. And a lot of times when you speak to people about the difficulties of adopting Agile, they'll denote that, when agility doesn't come from the top down, that's one of the significant impediments and roadblocks for them to continue to release this culture throughout the organization.
Right.
Um, so
So how does a partnership with AgileCxO help you there?
So for us, a partnership with AgileCxO is crucial to that sort of idea, because what it does is it provides us a model that shows us how to really implement Agile from the top down and allow the agility from the bottom to grow up as it grows down from the top.
So are you seeing the Agile performance hierarchy, the APH model that AgileCxO has, as sort of a manual or a guidebook for senior management to help generate agility at all levels?
Sure, that's it exactly. So the APH model is something that we're hopeful to use to really generate an interest in providing the tools and the environment that the teams below the C-suite would need to be successful in creating and nurturing and really growing the agility at our organization.
Do you see your senior management participating in assessments of their own performance using the APH to kind of verify and help them improve performance at the senior level?
Sure, absolutely. The APH model itself is all about adapting behavior. So if we go to the executive team and we say, these are the things that we're all doing really well. Here's some areas that we think we can really improve. Let's talk about how we can change how we're doing what we're doing and see if we can really bring us to a new level of agility.
Right. And how do you think this will work with your customers? You work with a lot of government agencies. A lot of them are talking about Agile right now, especially over at CMS, where you're doing a lot of work. Do you see this playing in their space at all? Do you see them being interested in how you're doing this? Or what's your strategy for using the APH with your customers?
Sure. So I'd really like to hope that in that region we'll see a lot of interest. I think that Agile itself is sort of becoming more than a buzzword as it's been for a long time, and people are really starting to see the observable benefits of Agile in a larger scale.
Right. And your company has developed some tools even, I think, to help with this kind of large scale implementation. Can you tell us what you're using from a tool standpoint?
Absolutely. So we do use both Jira and Confluence Atlassian products. Um, for us, it was sort of the right tool for the right job kind of thing. There's tons of tools and plugins that you can use to really help manage the processes and really ensure that all of the information that you can glean from an agile process set that helps you improve over time is really
Right.
captured and is readily available to you. As well, we have a new in-house product that we're calling River that is sort of a conflict resolution tool that will help us identify areas where we're in need of improvement or doing well, but also provide us solutions and give us insight into how we can become better.
And do you see the use of any particular agile metrics or anything that is kind of consistently used in the agile world for metrics to determine whether you're actually meeting the goals that you set out for yourself?
Sure. So we can set metrics in any way that we'd like, especially with that tool. We can look at, we can do common assessments of smaller areas of specific performance circles around our own office. We can look and see, based on our previous recorded assessments, how we're improving, and make sure that any of the actions that we had set for ourselves to take in improving our behaviors based on our previous assessments have been taken. Um, I think we're hoping that in the future, as we move forward with AgileCxO, we'll be able to really show how small changes in little places around in our environment here really affect the greater ecosystem at Qlarant.
Right. I should have mentioned this when I introduced you, but you are an APH assessor and instructor, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so will you be conducting sort of internal APH assessments with your company, or will you be doing it outside the company as well?
Sure. So we have our first internal assessment at Qlarant for the APH model
Oh,
scheduled. Hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be able to have it done.
oh,
Uh,
great.
so once we have all of that done, everybody on the team will have performed a full assessment, and then we can start Qlarant's journey towards becoming much more agile at the top end.
That's great. And your leadership has been receptive to the assessment process, you think?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think everybody has a really great sort of excitement about the potential use for this here, and just to see what we can do to become better is all like we always try to.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed about your company and your leadership is you all seem almost hungry for improvement, for getting better, and really being a great company. And you don't see that as much as I would like to see that with a lot of agile organization that kind of bristle at the notion of being assessed. Why do you think some agile organizations do that? Why do you think that they don't like being assessed?
I think that a lot of companies really view assessments as an opportunity to be told what they're doing wrong versus an opportunity to be told how they can improve.
Right.
So here at Qlarant, we're very passionate about everything that we do. The years that we've spent in quality data analysis and providing solutions. In my time spent here as a business analyst and a project manager, I've witnessed firsthand the immediate benefits that agility and product development can bring. So whether it's turning out higher quality products and refining or bettering a process or planning a roadmap, we can take the things that we've learned, take the self-reflection, take the findings of something not so good and
Yeah.
turn it into something very good,
Right.
so long as we approach it in that manner.
So what kind of advice would you give a company that's kind of on the cusp of this? I talk to a lot of CEOs that say, "Yeah, I'd like to do this, but I'm not really sure if I can get everybody on board." What's some advice you have for sort of jumping into this assessment, continuous improvement process in the agile world?
Sure. So I would say just try it. Like I was saying before, a lot of companies that jump into Agile and they just start out by putting it into their project teams. If you have a fear of Agile, try it. Put it into a small place, see how it works. Try to ensure that it's being run the right way, but then see the benefits from it. Observe it yourself. Like see the proof in that pudding, and try to think about how you can use it elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's great. And you mentioned earlier something I just wanted to kind of wrap up with your thoughts on this is you talked about uh, leadership and how important that was to a successful agile implementation. And I have worked with a lot of companies they're doing Scrum, they're running their ceremonies, and their senior management doesn't seem to be on board at all. And they insist that things are going well and that agile is going well in their company. What are they missing? Well, they're doing
Sure.
daily stand-ups. Aren't they agile? What's going on there?
Right. So normally companies who want to build and sustain like a large scale agility implementation, they really start by putting it in the IT departments and the PMOs and the development teams and the like. But it's much easier there because there are really well documented methodologies of agile approaches such as Scrum and Kanban and things of that nature. They're really tried and true, but there's not really any kind of supporting model or anything for an organization from the top down. And project level adoption is only one of the initial stepping stones towards transforming an organization's agility as a whole.
Right.
So that being said, project level adoption is particularly successful, and it thrives in an organization where the conditions are that of support of agile adoption and things like that. So I think the AgileCxO APH, the Agile Performance Hierarchy, is more of a holistic model, and it helps put a spotlight on the measure of support at the executive leadership level, and it provides a means of instilling agility in the leadership culture through the adapting of behaviors. So really, it helps position the C-suite to effectively nurture and grow agility within an organization from above by providing the right tools and environment to really strengthen the company's capabilities through an agile approach. And most importantly, it really allows the self-organizing teams in an agile environment to take responsibility for the work that they've assigned themselves to, and they hold themselves accountable. So it really helps the leadership to be free to do more of what they're intended to do by leading more.
Well, that sounds great. It sounds like it's filling an important gap for you and is going to really be helpful for the entire company, not just the development teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really, really excited at the prospect of it.
Cool. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you joining us today for the show. And I'd like to just leave the last minute for you to say anything you want to our listeners and our viewers, and say anything you'd like about Qlarant or yourself to leave us, and then we'll be done.
Sure. So it's just been a pleasure being on the call. Like I said, here at Qlarant, we're just very passionate folks, just trying to make everything better. We thrive in quality and we strive for improvement. So we hope to see anybody who's interested, give us a contact and discuss what we can do to help you.
Great. Appreciate your being on the show today. And I wish you the best of luck with Agile, with the APH, and with the future of being an APH assessor. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.